I stopped breathing the moment my father's hand closed around my wrist. Not because it hurt, because I knew what came next. The marble floors of his penthouse stretched behind us like a runway to my execution, all polished stone and imported Italian furniture that cost more than most people made in a year. He'd built an empire on breaking people who couldn't afford to break back, and now he was about to break me. "Thorne will be here in 10 minutes, he said, checking his watch like this was a business meeting, like he wasn't about to hand over his only daughter to the most dangerous man on the eastern seaboard. "Try not to embarrass me more than you already have." I wanted to ask what I'd done wrong this time, but I already knew the answer. I existed. That was crime enough. My stepmother, Vivian, watched from the doorway of the sitting room, her surgically perfected face carefully neutral. She'd stopped pretending to care about me years ago, right around the time she'd given my father the perfect son and daughter. His first marriage had failed to produce the beautiful children, the ones who looked good in photographs. I was 26 years old, and I'd never been in a family photo. Not since I was 8, and my father decided I was too unfortunate-looking to be seen. "He'll be disappointed," I said, my voice steadier than my hands, "when he sees what you're giving him." My father's laugh was sharp enough to draw blood. "Thorne Castell doesn't get disappointed, Reverie. He gets even. And you're exactly the kind of even he deserves for what I did." What he did. Not what we did. What he did. I'd learned that lesson young. My father's sins would always become my punishment. The elevator chimed like a death knell. My father released my wrist, stepped back, smoothed his tie, preparing to meet the monster he'd been stupid enough to cross. The doors opened, and I saw him for the first time. Thorne Castell looked like violence had been given a face, and told to smile about it. Tall enough that even my father had to look up. Shoulders broad enough to carry the weight of the criminal empire everyone whispered about. Dark hair swept back from a face that belonged in museums, the kind of beautiful that felt like a warning. But it was his eyes that stopped my heart. Gray. Not soft gray. Storm gray. The color of gunmetal and winter skies and things that would kill you without hesitation. Those eyes found mine across the penthouse, held them with an intensity that made my skin prickle. He looked at me like he was memorizing every detail, not with hunger, not with disgust, just seeing me, really seeing me in a way no one had in years. "Herrick," he said, his voice rough with an accent I couldn't place, Russian maybe, or something older and more dangerous. "I received your message." My father's hand found my lower back, pushed me forward like I was merchandise being presented for inspection. "As promised, full payment for the Prague incident." The Prague incident, the weapons shipment my father had betrayed, the Castell men who died because of information my father had sold, and I was the price for all of it. Thorne's gaze never left my face as he crossed the penthouse with the fluid grace of something predatory. He stopped close enough that I could smell him, cedar and smoke and something darker that made my stomach clench. "Your name," he said. Not a question, a command. "Reverie." My voice came out smaller than I wanted, smaller than I was. "Reverie Voss." He said it like he was tasting the syllables, deciding if they were worth keeping. Then his eyes dropped, moving over me with that same careful attention. Over the soft curves my father had spent 26 years teaching me to hide. Over the body I'd learned to apologize for just by existing. I waited for the reaction I always got. The flicker of disappointment, the quick look away, the tightening around the mouth that said I wasn't what he'd expected. It didn't come. Instead, his hand came up, slow, deliberate, giving me time to flinch if I needed to, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear with a gentleness that didn't match the danger in his eyes. "You flinch," he said softly. "Who taught you that?" I couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. His fingers were still at my temple, warm and solid and steady. "No one taught me," I managed. "I just learned." Something flickered across his face, Fury, maybe. Or recognition. He turned to my father, and the temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. The contract you signed. You have a copy? My father pulled papers from his jacket pocket, handed them over with hands that trembled just slightly. Thorne scanned them, his expression unreadable. Then he folded them carefully, slid them into his own pocket. This makes her mine, he said. Not a question. Legally, financially, completely. My father's voice was steady, but I heard the fear underneath. As agreed. Good. Thorne's hand found my elbow, gentle but firm. Then we're done here. Wait. The word escaped before I could stop it. That's it? No negotiation? No? No, Thorne interrupted, his eyes finding mine again. Your father signed away any rights he had to negotiate the moment he put your name on that contract. You're mine now, Reverie. The only question is whether you walk out of here with dignity or terror. Your choice. I looked at my father one last time, searching for any sign of regret, any hint of the man who'd once held me when I was small enough to fit in his arms, who'd told me bedtime stories before my mother died, and he married someone younger and prettier and more fertile. But that man was gone, had been gone for years. The stranger wearing his face just looked relieved. I'll walk, I said. Thorne's lips curved. Not quite a smile, something more dangerous. Smart girl. He led me to the elevator, his hand still at my elbow, proprietary and careful all at once. The doors closed on my father's penthouse, on the only life I'd ever known, and I felt something inside me crack open. Not breaking, shifting. We rode down 42 floors in silence. I could feel Thorne watching me in the reflection of the polished doors, but I didn't turn to meet his gaze. Couldn't. If I looked at him, I'd have to face what just happened. That my father had sold me to a monster. That I'd walked out willingly. That some terrible part of me felt more seen in those 5 minutes with Thorne Castell than I had in 26 years with my own blood. The doors opened to an underground garage where a black car waited, sleek and expensive and somehow threatening despite being an inanimate object. A man stood beside it, older, scarred, eyes like dead things. This is Constantine, Thorne said. He'll drive us. Where? My voice sounded foreign to my own ears. Home. Home. Like I had any idea what that meant anymore. I got in the car because I had nowhere else to go. Because the contract my father signed meant I was legally Thorne's property. Because running would only delay the inevitable. The leather seats were warm despite the February cold. The interior smelled like expensive cologne and older money and power that didn't need to announce itself. Thorne slid in beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat of him against my arm. The door closed with a sound like a tomb sealing. Constantine pulled out into New York traffic, and I watched my old life disappear through tinted windows that turned the world into shadows. You're afraid, Thorne said. Not a question. Wouldn't you be? Probably, if I were you. His hand found mine where it was twisted in my lap, covered it completely. But you won't be afraid for long. Why not? Because fear requires uncertainty, and I'm about to make something very certain. He turned my hand over, traced the lines of my palm with one finger. The touch was deliberate, possessive. You're mine now, Reverie. That means you're protected, valued, kept safe. You don't know me. How can you value something you don't know? His smile was sharp enough to cut. I know enough. I know your father gave you away because he's too stupid to recognize what he had. I know you flinched when I raised my hand, which means someone taught you to expect pain. I know you looked at yourself in the reflection of my car, and I saw shame on your face, shame you shouldn't carry. My breath caught. You saw all that in 5 minutes? I've been watching you longer than 5 minutes. The car suddenly felt too small, too warm. What does that mean? It means when I investigate a man who betrayed me, I investigate everything, including his dirty secrets. His thumb moved across my knuckles, gentle and devastating. And I found you, Reverie Voss, the daughter he kept hidden, the one he dressed in shapeless clothes and kept out of photographs, the one he treated like she was worthless. Tears pricked my eyes and I hated them, hated that he could see through me so easily. I am worthless. He's been telling me that my whole life. He lied. Thorne's voice dropped lower, rougher. And I'm going to spend however long it takes proving it to you. I should have argued, should have protected myself with cynicism and walls. Instead, I asked, why? Because I know what it's like to be treated as less than human, and I know what it takes to prove them wrong. His hand tightened on mine. You're going to prove them wrong, Reverie. All of them, starting with yourself. We drove for another hour, the city giving way to industrial areas, then to countryside I didn't recognize. Finally, we turned down a private road, past gates that opened without anyone touching them, and I saw where I'd be kept. The estate beyond those gates looked like it had been designed by someone who understood that true power didn't need to scream. It whispered. Modern architecture, all glass and steel, and sharp lines, nestled into acres of grounds that probably required an army to maintain, a fortress disguised as a palace. The car stopped at the main entrance. Constantine opened my door, offered his hand like a gentleman, even though we both knew what this was. A transaction, a transfer of property. I stepped out into cold air that smelled like pine and winter and wealth I couldn't comprehend. Welcome to Ravencross, Thorne said, appearing at my side. Your new home. Ravencross. Even the name sounded like something out of a Gothic novel. Beautiful and haunted and impossible to escape. A woman waited at the door, older than me by 20 years, with silver hair pulled back and eyes that saw everything. This is Galena, Thorne said. She manages the household. Anything you need, ask her. Galena's expression softened when she looked at me. Welcome, Miss Voss. I've prepared the blue suite for you. Just Reverie, I said. Please. Of course. She stepped aside, gestured, to the entrance. Shall I show you around? Later, Thorne interrupted. First, my study. We need to establish some ground rules. Ground rules. My stomach clenched as I followed him through an entry hall that was larger than my college apartment had been. Past rooms I couldn't see into. Past windows that showed gardens lit by invisible lights. Everything perfect. Everything controlled. Everything designed to remind me how small I was in comparison. His study was all dark wood and leather, dominated by a desk that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of stone. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed nothing but darkness beyond. He gestured to a chair across from the desk. Sit. I sat, my hands twisted in my lap again, waiting for him to tell me what he wanted, what I'd be used for, what my purpose would be in this new life. Instead, he poured amber liquid into 2 glasses, handed me one. You don't have to drink it, he said when I hesitated, but you'll probably want to. I took it. Our fingers brushed, and that same electricity shot up my arm. He leaned against his desk, those storm-gray eyes studying me with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. I'm going to give you rules, he said. Not because I want to control you, because I need you safe. Do you understand the difference? No. You will. He took a sip of his drink. Rule 1. You don't leave this estate without my permission. Not the grounds, not the gardens, nowhere. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. There's a difference. Is there? His smile was dangerous. You'll understand soon enough. Rule 2. You don't speak to anyone about who I am or what I do. Not on the phone, not in writing, not even in your dreams where you think you're safe. I don't know what you do. You will, eventually. He set down his glass. Rule 3. No one touches you without my explicit permission. Not my men, not visitors, no one. Something in his voice when he said that made heat curl low in my stomach. And if someone does? Then I introduce them to what happens when people take what's mine. Mine. He kept saying that word, like I was something he'd purchased. I guess I was. What about you? The question escaped before I could stop it. Do you touch what's yours? The air between us changed, charged, dangerous. When you're ready, he said, his voice dropping to something rough and raw. I'll touch you in ways that will make you forget every insult, every cruel word, every moment you felt less than perfect. But not before you understand that when I claim you, it's forever. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might escape my chest. I don't understand any of this. Why you care, why I matter. He pushed off the desk, crossed to my chair, knelt in front of me so we were eye level. This close I could see the faint scar through his left eyebrow, the darker flecks in those gray eyes, the way his jaw tightened when he looked at me. When I was 15, he said, my father sold me to a man who wanted a soldier, not a son, a weapon. I spent 7 years being broken down and rebuilt into something useful, something dangerous. My breath caught at the raw honesty in his voice. And every day, every single day, that man told me I was worthless, that I only mattered when I was being useful, when I was causing pain. His hand came up, cupped my face with a gentleness that didn't match the fury in his eyes. Then one day, I killed him, took his empire, built my own, and I promised myself I'd never let anyone make me feel worthless again. Thorn, you matter to me because I know what it's like to be treated as less than human, and I know what it takes to prove them wrong. His thumb traced my cheekbone. When I see you, soft and beautiful and stronger than you know, I see someone worth protecting, worth valuing, worth keeping. I should have pulled away, should have protected myself with cynicism. Instead, I leaned into his palm and let myself believe him. He stood abruptly, like touching me was dangerous. Galena will show you to your room. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start rebuilding you. Rebuilding me into what? Into who you were always meant to be before your father tried to break you. He left before I could ask what that meant. Galena appeared in the doorway like she'd been waiting. This way, Miss Reverie. I followed her up a staircase that curved like art, down hallways that seemed endless, to a door she pushed open with quiet ceremony. The room beyond stole my breath, bigger than any space I'd ever called mine. A bed that could sleep 6 people, windows overlooking grounds that looked infinite in the darkness, furniture that belonged in magazines. The closet is stocked, Galena said. If there's anything you need, use the phone by the bed. Why is he doing this? I asked. Really, not the revenge on my father, not the rules. Why is he treating me like I'm precious instead of punishment? Galena's expression softened. Because Mr. Castell knows what it's like to be treated as worthless, and he refuses to do that to someone else. She moved to the door, paused. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be intense. She left me alone in that beautiful cage. I explored the closet, found it exactly as she'd said, stocked with clothes in my size. But not the shapeless, dark things my father had insisted on. These were beautiful, rich colors, fabrics that felt like sin against my skin, dresses that wouldn't hide my curves but celebrate them. At the back, I found a full-length mirror. I stood in front of it in the silk pajamas someone had left on the bed and looked at myself. Really looked, maybe for the first time in years. Soft. That's what I was. Curves and roundness, and all the things my father had taught me to hate. But Thorne's voice echoed in my head. Soft and beautiful, and stronger than you know. I was still standing there when I heard the door open, behind me. I spun around, heart in my throat. Thorne stood in the doorway, still dressed despite the late hour. His eyes found mine in the mirror, held them. Couldn't sleep? His voice was rough with something that might have been exhaustion. No. He moved into the room, each step deliberate, controlled, like he was giving me time to tell him to stop. I didn't. He stopped behind me, close enough that I could feel the heat of him against my back. His eyes met mine in the mirror. "What do you see?" he asked. "What my father always saw. A mistake. A disappointment." "Look again." His hands came to rest on my shoulders, warm and solid and steady. "I see someone who survived 26 years of a man trying to break her spirit and failed. I see strength disguised as softness. I see everything beautiful that your father was too blind to recognize." His hand slid down my arm slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. "You're perfect exactly as you are, Reverie. And I'm going to prove it to you." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His hands on my arms felt like they were the only thing keeping me anchored. "You're lying," I whispered. "I don't lie, not about things that matter." His hands found my waist, spanning it easily, and my breath caught. "And you matter, more than you know." "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why do I matter to you? You don't even know me." "I know enough. I know you flinched when I raised my hand, which means someone taught you to expect pain. I know you packed light because you've learned not to get attached to things. I know you look at yourself in the mirror and see a mistake, which means your father succeeded in his cruelty." His hands tightened fractionally on my waist. "And I know that despite everything they did to you, you're still standing here, still fighting, still surviving. That takes a strength most people never find." I met his eyes in the mirror, and what I saw there terrified me. Hunger, raw and barely controlled. "You said you wouldn't touch me until I was ready," I said. "I know what I said." His hands stayed at my waist, burning through silk. "And I meant it. This isn't claiming you, Reverie. This is showing you what they tried to make you hate." His lips brushed the shell of my ear and I shivered. "Look at yourself. Really look. See what I see. A woman worthy of worship, not shame. A woman who deserves to be cherished, not hidden." "I don't know how." "Then I'll teach you." His breath was warm against my neck. "Every day, every night, until you believe it, until you look in the mirror and see what I see, perfection exactly as you are." He stepped back before I could lean into him, before I could make the mistake of believing this was anything other than strategy. "Sleep," he said, his voice rough. "Tomorrow, I'm taking you somewhere you need to see." "Where?" "Somewhere that will help you understand what you are to me." He left before I could ask what he meant. I stood alone in that room, my waist still tingling where his hands had been, my heart racing with something that felt dangerously like hope. And for the first time in 26 years, I looked in the mirror and didn't immediately hate what I saw. The next morning, someone knocked at 7. Galena entered with a tray of breakfast and a smile that seemed genuine. "Good morning. Mr. Castell asked me to tell you he'll be ready to leave at 9. "Leave for where?" "He didn't say, but he asked that you wear something comfortable." I ate quickly, then explored the closet again, chose jeans and a sweater in deep burgundy that made my skin glow. When I came downstairs, Thorne was waiting in the foyer. He looked devastating in black on black on black, and my stomach flipped when his eyes swept over me with obvious approval. "Beautiful," he said simply. "Ready?" "For what?" "To see my empire." We drove for an hour, Constantine silent behind the wheel, the city giving way to industrial areas and then to a neighborhood that looked abandoned, until we pulled up to a building that looked like every other warehouse on the block. "What is this place?" I asked as Thorne helped me out. "The heart of everything I've built." Inside, the warehouse was transformed. Offices, storage, people working with frightening efficiency. Everyone we passed stopped what they were doing, nodded to Thorne with respect that looked like fear. He took me to an office on the second floor. Through the windows, I could see the entire operation below. This is where we coordinate shipments, he said. Legal and less legal. Import-export. Mostly weapons, some pharmaceuticals, whatever the market demands. You're showing me this. Why? Because I want you to understand what you're part of now. Who I am. What I do. He turned to face me. This is my world, Reverie. It's dangerous. It's often violent. And there are people who would use you to hurt me if they knew what you meant to me. What do I mean to you? Everything. The word hung between us, heavy with implication. That's why the rules exist. Why you can't leave the estate without protection. Why I'm so careful about who gets near you. He moved closer. Because in this world, weakness gets exploited. And you're my only weakness. I'm not weak. No, you're my weakness. There's a difference. He framed my face with his hands. If anything happened to you because of me, because of this life, I would burn the world down. Do you understand? Thorn, I need you to understand the danger you're in just by being mine. Then tell me everything. So he did. He told me about the Constantine family, not his driver, but his main competitors, how they'd been trying to take his territory for years, how my father's betrayal had given them an opening. He told me about the weapons, the money, the deals made in shadows. He told me about the men who died protecting what was his, the enemies he'd eliminated, the blood on his hands that would never wash clean. And through it all, I listened, absorbing, understanding. This was who I'd been given to. Not a monster, but not a hero either. Something in between, something complicated and dangerous and utterly fascinating. Are you afraid? He asked when he finished. I thought about it, really thought. No, I said finally. I should be, but I'm not. Why not? Because you showed me your worst parts, and you're still here, waiting to see if I'll run. I stepped closer. That takes courage, or maybe stupidity. I haven't decided which yet. He laughed, a real laugh that transformed his entire face. Probably both. We drove back to Ravencross in comfortable silence, and I realized something that should have terrified me. I was falling for a man who could destroy me with a word, and I didn't care. 4 days later, everything changed. I was in the library, curled up with a book, when alarms started screaming through the house. Footsteps pounded through halls, shouting, the sound of guns being readied. My door burst open. Thorn strode in, his face a mask of cold fury. Get up, now, we're moving you. What's happening? The Constantines know about you. They're coming. My blood went cold. How? Someone talked. Someone inside my organization. He grabbed my arm, not roughly but urgently. We don't have time. Move. He pulled me through hallways I didn't recognize, past men taking defensive positions, down to a part of the house I'd never seen. A panic room, reinforced steel, surveillance monitors showing every angle of the estate. You stay here, he said, pushing me inside. Don't open this door for anyone but me. Understand? Thorn, I'm scared. I know, but they won't get to you. I won't let them. He kissed me hard, desperate. I always come back, Reverie. Always. The door sealed behind him with a sound like a tomb closing. I sat in that steel room, watching monitors as black SUVs pulled up to the gates. Men poured out, armed, organized. The Constantines had come to take what was Thorn's, to take me. Gunfire erupted on the screens, Thorn's men defending, attackers advancing. I watched Thorn himself appear on one monitor, a gun in his hand, his face cold and focused. He moved like violence choreographed, every shot precise, every movement efficient. This was who he really was. Not the man who spoke softly in my room, not the one who looked at me like I was precious. This was Thorn Castell, the monster his enemies feared. The battle lasted 20 minutes that felt like hours. When it was over, bodies littered the ground. Thorn's men victorious but bloodied, and Thorn himself, standing in the middle of it all, untouched and terrifying. He looked directly at the camera. "It's safe. I'm coming." 5 minutes later, the door opened. Thorn stood there, spattered with blood that wasn't his, breathing hard, eyes still cold with violence. "Are you hurt?" I rushed to him. "No, they didn't get close." He pulled me against him, held me so tight it almost hurt. "You're safe. That's all that matters. The men who attacked, dead or running." His arms tightened. "Someone in my inner circle sold information, and when I find them, they'll wish the Constantines had killed them instead." The next day, Thorn called a meeting. He made me sit beside him. A statement. 15 people in the room. His inner circle. "Someone here," Thorn said, his voice cold and precise, "sold information about Reverie to the Constantines. That information nearly got her killed." Silence. Dangerous. "I'm giving that person one chance. Come forward now, and your death will be quick." More silence. "No one? Then we do this the hard way." A laptop appeared. On screen, text messages, bank transfers, photographs sent to unknown numbers, all from one person. Everyone followed Thorn's gaze to one man, mid-40s, someone I'd seen but never spoken to. Alexei, one of Thorn's lieutenants. "No," Alexei said, standing. "I didn't. You sent 19 messages to a Constantine operative, gave them Reverie's location, her routine, the layout of the estate, in exchange for $600,000. They threatened my sister, my niece. So you would have let them take mine to save yours?" Thorn's voice was soft, deadly. "I didn't think they'd actually attack." "You didn't think at all." Thorn stood. "You betrayed me, betrayed all of us, put Reverie in danger. Please, we've worked together for 12 years, and in one moment, you erased all of that." Thorn pulled out a gun, chambered around. Alexei dropped to his knees. "My family will be taken care of. Your sister and niece will be protected, because unlike you, I don't punish the innocent for the guilty." Thorn's hand didn't shake. "Close your eyes. Thorn, close your eyes." I watched it happen. Watched Thorn put a bullet in Alexei's head without hesitation. The room erupted in controlled chaos. Men removing the body, someone calling cleaners. Thorn holstered his gun, turned to his people. "Let Alexei be a lesson. Loyalty is rewarded, betrayal is punished, and anyone who threatens what's mine doesn't get a second chance." He took my hand, led me out while I was still processing what I'd seen. In his study, he poured himself a drink, downed it. "I'm sorry you had to see that," he said, his back to me. "Are you sorry you did it?" "No. He put you in danger. He deserved worse." I moved to him, put my hand on his back, felt tension there. "I'm not upset," I said softly. "I should be, but I'm not." He turned, his eyes searching mine. "You should be running, screaming." "I know, but I'm not." "Why not?" "Because he tried to have me killed, and you protected me." I stepped closer. "That's all that matters." His hands framed my face, gentle despite the violence he'd just committed. "You're not afraid of me." "No, I'm afraid of losing this, losing you, but not of you." He kissed me then, tasting like whiskey and smoke and danger, and I knew there was no going back. A week later, my father called. Thorn handed me the phone, his expression unreadable. I answered because I needed to hear his voice, needed to know if he regretted what he'd done. "Reverie?" My father sounded strained, desperate. "What do you want?" "I want to make a deal. I can help you. The feds are closing in on Castell's operations. I can make it go away if you come home. If you testify that he held you against your will." I laughed. "You want me to betray the man who's treated me better in 4 weeks than you did in 26 years? He's a criminal, Reverie. He's manipulated you. He made me think I'm worth something. You never did that." Silence. "Come home," my father said finally, before he destroys you. I am home, and the only person who ever destroyed me was you. I hung up. Thorn was watching me. He wants me to betray you, I said, to help build a case. Will you? No. Even if it means being complicit in what I do? I already chose, the moment I didn't run. He pulled me into his arms, held me like I was something precious. Your father will keep trying. He'll use every resource to get you back, not because he loves you, because losing you makes him look weak. Let him try. Reverie. I'm not going back, not now, not ever. He pulled back, his eyes burning with something I'd never seen. Then marry me. I froze. What? Marry me. Not because I own you, because I'm choosing you, because I want the world to know you're mine by your own choice. Thorn, we've known each other a month. I've known about you for 8 months. I've wanted you longer. And if you think I'm letting you go now, you haven't been paying attention. This is insane. Probably. But I don't care. He took my hands. Marry me, Reverie. Let me protect you legally. Let me give you my name, my resources, everything I have. I stared at this dangerous man offering me something I'd never thought I'd have. A choice. If I say yes, there's no going back. There was no going back the moment I saw your picture, the moment I decided you were mine. I should have said no, should have asked for time. Instead, I said yes. 3 days later, I stood in a private chapel, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my college tuition, in front of a priest who asked no questions. The only witnesses were Galena and 3 of Thorn's most trusted men. No flowers, no music, no pretense this was anything other than what it was. A claiming, a binding. Thorn stood at the altar in a black suit, looking like he'd walked out of someone's darkest fantasy. When I reached him, he took my hands, and I felt them trembling. The ceremony was short, efficient. Do you, Thorn Castell, take this woman? I do. No hesitation. And do you, Reverie Voss, take this man? I looked into his storm-gray eyes and saw my future there. Dangerous, complicated, certain. I do. The priest pronounced us married. Thorn kissed me like he was starving, his hands tangling in my hair, pulling me against him with a possession that stole my breath. When we broke apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. Mine, he whispered. Legally, finally, mine. Yours, I agreed. He slid a ring onto my finger, white gold, gray diamonds, beautiful and dark. I had it made when I decided I wanted you, 8 months ago. I've been carrying it, waiting. You were that sure I'd say yes? I was that sure I'd make you want to. We went back to Ravencross, to his rooms that would now be ours. At the door, he stopped. I need you to understand something. This isn't just legal protection. This is real. You're my wife now, Reverie. That means everything I have is yours. And in return, you want everything I am. Yes, all of you. No holding back. No walls. I don't know how to do that. Then I'll teach you. He lifted me, carried me across the threshold. Starting now. He laid me on the bed that would be ours, and I saw the hunger in his eyes, barely controlled, desperate, mine. Tell me you want this, he demanded. Tell me you want me. I want you. Say it again. I want you, Thorn. I've wanted you since the mirror, since you made me see myself the way you see me. He made a sound between a growl and a groan, his hands finding my dress zipper. The fabric pooled around me and I tensed. Instinct, trained by years of being taught to hide. He pulled back, his eyes traveling over me with hunger that made me forget shame. Perfect, he breathed. Absolutely perfect. His hands, scarred and dangerous, traced my curves with reverence that made tears prick my eyes. Don't hide from me. Not now. Not ever. I want to see you. All of you. So I let him look, let him touch, let him worship the body I'd been taught to hate. And somewhere in that surrendering, I found something I'd been searching for my whole life: acceptance. When he finally claimed me, slow and reverent and devastating, I understood why they called it losing yourself. Because I lost every wall, every defense, every reason I'd ever had to protect my heart. After, we lay tangled together, his hand tracing lazy patterns on my skin. "I love you," he said into the darkness. Simple, true, terrifying. I stilled. "Thorn, I know it's too soon, but I need you to know. I love you, Reverie. Have since I realized your father was too blind to see what he had." Tears slipped down my face and he kissed them away. "You don't have to say it back. Not until you're ready." "I'm afraid of how much I feel, of how fast this is." "I know. I'm terrified too, but I'm not letting you go." I fell asleep in his arms and dreamed of a future where I wasn't just surviving, I was living. 2 weeks later, my father made his move, a press conference, about me. We watched it together. My father, looking appropriately concerned, standing in front of cameras. My daughter, Reverie Voss, was taken against her will by known criminal Thorn Castell. I'm begging him to release her. Lies. All lies. "He's forcing my hand," Thorn said, his voice cold, "making me choose between keeping you and maintaining my business." "What do you want to do?" "I want to put a bullet in his head, but that would prove his point." He turned to me. "So we fight back, with the truth." The next day, Thorn's lawyers released a statement, along with our marriage certificate, photographs of me at the estate, clearly unharmed, video of me laughing with Galena, and a notarized letter from me, stating clearly that I was there by choice, that my father had given me to Thorn as payment, not as kidnapping. The media exploded. My father's narrative crumbled. Reporters dug into the truth, found the contract, the debt, found out Harlan Voss had sold his daughter. Within a week, his company's stock tanked, his reputation shattered. He called again. Thorn put it on speaker. "You destroyed me," my father hissed. "Everything I built." "You destroyed yourself," I interrupted. "The moment you taught me I was worthless. The moment you signed those papers. You're my daughter. I was your daughter. Now I'm Thorn Castell's wife, and I'd choose him 1,000 times over you. You'll regret this, when he gets tired of you. He already knows what I am, and he loves me anyway. That's something you never did." I hung up. Thorn pulled me into his arms. "It's over," he said. "He can't touch you now." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Your father has no leverage, no power. He's just a man who sold his daughter and got exactly what he deserved." I buried my face in his chest and let myself believe it. But peace never lasts in Thorn's world. 3 weeks later, the Constantines tried again. Not with guns, with something more insidious. I found the envelope on my pillow. Inside, photographs. Of me. In the estate. In Thorn's arms. And a note. "We know where you are. We know what you mean to him. One way or another you'll pay." I showed Thorn. His face went cold. "They have someone inside again," I said. "I know. I've been letting them. Feeding false information. Waiting to see who they contact." "You used me as bait?" "Never. I used the idea of you. Let them think they knew your schedule, and watched who leaked it. And? And I found them. 2 people. Both removed last night." "Killed?" "Removed from my organization. Whether they live depends on what they tell me." I should have been horrified. I wasn't. "What do we do about the Constantines?" "We end this, once and for all." The next night, Thorn made his move. Simultaneous raids on 3 Constantine holdings. I watched it unfold on monitors. Watched Thorn's men execute a plan months in the making. Watched the Constantine empire crumble. and at 3 a.m. watched Victor Constantine himself brought to Thorn in chains. "Your men are dead or running," Thorn said. "Your operation seized. You have nothing left. You can't kill me. I have protection. You have nothing. Your protection abandoned you." Thorn's voice was soft. "You're alone, Victor." Victor's eyes found mine, full of hatred. "This is about her? A fat nobody your enemy gave you as garbage?" Thorn moved faster than I could track, his hand around Victor's throat, lifting him. "Call her that again. Give me a reason." Victor choked, face turning red. Thorn released him. "Reverie," he said without looking at me. "Come here." I moved to stand beside him. "This is my wife, Reverie Castell, and you're going to apologize, right now." "I'm not." Thorn pulled out a gun, pressed it to Victor's temple. "Apologize, or I start taking pieces." "I'm sorry," Victor gasped. "Look at her when you say it." Victor's eyes met, mine, full of fear and hatred. "I'm sorry." "Good. Now get him out of my sight. Let him live just long enough to watch everything burn. Then make it quick." Victor was dragged away, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no horror, just cold satisfaction. The war with the Constantines ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. Their organization collapsed within a week, their territories absorbed, their people either pledging loyalty or disappearing. And me? I went back to my beautiful life. "You're different," Galena said one morning. "Stronger." I had to be. "No, you chose to be." She was right. Everything in my life now was a choice. I chose to stay, chose to fight, chose to stand beside a man the world called a monster, chose to love him. That night, I found Thorn in his study. "It's over," he said. "Really over. The Constantines are finished. Your father is disgraced. No one threatens us." "So what now?" "Now we build. A real life. A real marriage." He turned to face me. "I want to give you everything, Reverie. Everything you should have had." "I have everything I need." "Do you? Or are you settling?" I thought about it. "I want to go back to school, finish my degree, maybe work, build something that's mine." "Done. Whatever you want, wherever you want. Even if it means I'm not here all the time?" His smile was warm, real. "Even then, I want you to be more than my wife. I want you to be yourself, fully." "I don't know who that is yet." "Then we'll figure it out together." He kissed me, soft and sweet, and I realized this was what love looked like. Not perfect, not safe, but real, and mine. 6 months later, I stood in front of Columbia's campus. Thorn stood beside me, his hand in mine. "You don't have to do this if you're not ready." "I'm ready." "Once you're out there, people will know who you are, who you're married to. Let them know. Let them talk. I don't care anymore." And I didn't. That was the real victory. I'd stopped caring what anyone thought. I'd found my own worth. I enrolled, started classes, built a life that was mine. And every night, I came home to Thorn. To the man who'd seen me when I was invisible, who'd valued me when I felt worthless, who'd loved me when I couldn't love myself. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked one night. "Taking me instead of killing my father?" "Never. You're worth more than any revenge." "Even though I complicated your life?" "Especially because of that. You made me human again, gave me something to fight for other than power." I rolled to face him, traced the scar through his eyebrow. "I love you," I said. First time without prompting, without fear. His eyes lit up. "Say it again." "I love you, Thorn Castell. Even though you're dangerous and possessive and slightly unhinged about me." "Slightly?" He laughed. "I'm completely unhinged about you, and I don't care who knows it." We made love slowly that night, and I realized something. I'd been given to him as punishment. But somehow, impossibly, we'd turned it into the greatest gift either of us had ever received. A year after my father gave me away, I went to see him. Not because Thorn made me, because I needed to show him what I'd become. Harlan Voss lived in a much smaller apartment now. His empire crumbled, his wife gone, his perfect children wanting nothing to do with him. He answered the door looking older, smaller. "Reverie," he said, uncertain. I stood there in designer clothes, wearing confidence like armor. "I'm not here for forgiveness," I said. "Or closure." "Then why?" "To thank you." He blinked, confused. "Thank you for teaching me exactly who not to be. Thank you for making me strong enough to survive you. And thank you for being so desperate to get rid of me that you gave me to the only man who'd ever really see me. That monster. That man loves me, protects me, values me, everything you never did." I turned to leave. "So, thank you, Father, for failing me so completely that I had nowhere to go but up." "Reverie, wait. I'm sorry. I didn't realize." "You didn't realize I was worth something?" "I know. But I did. Finally. And that's all that matters." I left him there with his regrets. Thorn was waiting in the car. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Free. Finally, completely free." He took my hand, pressed a kiss to my knuckles. "Good. Because I have something to show you." We drove to a building I'd never seen. Modern. Beautiful. "What is this?" "Yours. A studio. For whatever you want. Art. Writing. A place to work. Whatever you need that's just yours." I stared at him, tears pricking my eyes. "You bought me a studio?" "I bought you space to become whoever you want to be." I kissed him right there in the car. We went upstairs to explore, and I realized something. I'd started this journey as my father's unwanted daughter, but I'd become something so much better. Someone whole, someone loved, someone free. 2 years into our marriage, Thorn made me an offer. "I want you in the business, really in it." "Why?" "Because you're smart. You see things I miss. My empire should be our empire." "I don't know anything about running criminal operations." "Then I'll teach you, not the violent parts, but the strategy, the negotiations, the legitimate businesses." I thought about it, and realized I was already complicit, already involved. Might as well own it. "Okay, teach me." So he did. I learned how money moved through his empire, legal and illegal, how shipments were coordinated, how territories were maintained. I learned the language of violence without participating, the strategy of war without fighting, and I found I had a gift for it. Within 6 months, I was sitting in on meetings, offering insights, making suggestions, and Thorne's people started looking at me different, not as the boss's wife, but as someone with her own power. "You're building something," Galena observed. "Your own empire within his. Is that bad?" "No, it's smart. Power shared is power multiplied." She was right. Thorne and I together were stronger than either of us alone. We were becoming true partners. I signed my first contract on behalf of the Castell organization and realized I'd become everything my father had tried to prevent. Powerful, valuable, impossible to dismiss. And I loved every second of it. But power always has a price. 3 years in, someone decided to test exactly how far Thorne would go to protect me. A rival organization. Not the Constantines. Someone new. Hungry. They grabbed me coming out of class. 2 men. A van. Zip ties and a hood. By the time they got me to their location, Thorne already knew. I'd been wearing a tracker. He'd insisted. I was grateful now. They put me in a room, concrete, cold, and waited for Thorne to pay ransom. What they didn't know, Thorne Castell didn't pay ransoms. He paid in blood. Sat in that room for 4 hours before I heard gunfire. Systematic, efficient, moving closer. The door burst open. Thorne stood there, covered in blood that wasn't his, holding a gun still smoking. His eyes found mine, and I saw fury, fear underneath, relief when he confirmed I was whole. "Are you hurt?" "No. Scared but not hurt." He crossed to me, cut my zip ties, pulled me into his arms so hard his hands shook. "I'm sorry. I should have had more security. You found me. That's what matters." He pulled back, checking for injuries. "The men who did this? Dead. All of them." I should have been horrified. I wasn't. "Good," I said. "Let them know what happens when they touch what's ours." His smile was sharp, proud. "What's ours? This is our empire now, and anyone who forgets pays the price." He carried me out past bodies I didn't look at too closely, and I realized I'd become exactly what my father had feared. Strong, dangerous, impossible to break, and I wouldn't change a thing. 6 months after the kidnapping, I found something that changed everything. A file in Thorne's office, marked with my father's name. Inside, documents I wasn't supposed to see. Evidence my father had been working with law enforcement. Not recently, years ago. Before he gave me to Thorne, he'd been an informant, trading information for immunity. And one of the organizations he'd informed on? Thorne's. My father hadn't just betrayed Thorne once, he'd been betraying him for years. "You found it." I spun around. Thorne stood in the doorway. "How long have you known?" "Since before I took you. Your father's betrayal went deeper than weapons. He'd been feeding information to the FBI about my operations for 3 years. So taking me was about removing his leverage. The FBI was protecting him because he was useful. I made him useless by taking what he thought would make them pressure me." "Did it work?" "Eventually. They backed off when they realized you weren't a hostage, that you'd chosen to stay." I looked at years of my father's betrayals documented in neat reports. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to carry the weight of his sins." I set down the files, moved to him. "We're partners. That means no secrets, even the ugly parts." He studied me, then nodded. "Okay, no more secrets." "Good, because I have something to tell you too." "What?" I took his hand, placed it on my stomach. "I'm pregnant." The shock on his face would have been funny if my heart wasn't beating so hard. "Are you sure?" "Positive. 3 months. I wanted to wait until I was sure." He dropped to his knees, pressed his forehead to my stomach. "A baby," he whispered. "Our baby. Are you happy?" He looked up, tears on his face. Happy doesn't begin to cover it. The pregnancy changed everything. Thorne became even more protective, more obsessive about security, more determined to eliminate every threat before our child was born. "I don't want our baby growing up afraid," he said one night, his hand on my stomach. "Don't want them to know the violence that made this empire." "Then what do you want?" "I want to build something legitimate, really legitimate. Use what we've built to create something clean for our child to inherit." "That's going to take years." "I know, but we have time." So we started building, investing in legal businesses, partnering with legitimate companies, slowly cleaning the money until the empire was more legal than not. It wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but it was necessary. When our daughter was born, Thorne held her like she was made of glass. "She's perfect," he whispered, tears on his face. "Just like her mother." I looked at this dangerous man holding our tiny daughter with infinite gentleness. "What should we name her?" "Aria. It means air, freedom." He looked up at me. "Everything we fought to give her." Aria Castell, born into an empire, but free from the chains that had bound her parents. I watched him with our daughter, and knew we'd taken something broken and built something beautiful. Something worth protecting, something worth every risk we'd taken to get here. 5 years after my father gave me away, I stood on the balcony of Ravencross, watching Arya play in the gardens. She was 4 now, beautiful, fearless. Thorn came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything. Where we started. Where we are now. And? And I still can't believe this is my life. You were never nothing, Reverie. Your father just couldn't see your worth." "No. But you did. From the very beginning." Below, Arya laughed, the sound pure and joyful. "Do you ever worry? About the life we've given her?" "Every day. But then I remember she has you as a mother, someone who'll teach her to be strong, to value herself, to never let anyone make her feel small. And she has you as a father, someone who'll protect her, love her, show her what real strength looks like." Thorn turned me in his arms, kissed me soft and slow. "I love you. Still. Always. Forever." "I love you too. Even though you're possessive and dangerous and completely obsessed. Completely obsessed with you. And I always will be." He pulled me closer, and I rested my head on his chest. 5 years ago, I was my father's unwanted daughter, his embarrassment, his punishment. Now I was Reverie Castell, mother, wife, partner in an empire. And I'd never been more certain of anything. Being given away was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it led me to the man who'd see me, value me, love me, even when I couldn't love myself. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" "For being exactly who I needed, when I needed it most." His arms tightened. "I should be thanking you. You saved me, made me human again, gave me something to live for other than power." "We saved each other." "Yeah, we did." We stood watching our daughter play, the sun setting over the empire we'd built together. This was home, not the mansion, not the wealth, not the power. This, him, us. And I wouldn't change a single thing, not even the beginning, especially not the beginning, because sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead us exactly where we need to be. And for me, that place was in Thorn Castell's arms, forever. And if he ever stops obsessing over me like I'm the only thing keeping him anchored to this earth, if I ever see that hunger fade from his eyes when he looks at me, I'll know something's wrong. Because his obsession isn't a cage. It's the only freedom I've ever known, the only safety I've ever felt, the only love I've ever believed. I looked down at Arya, playing in gardens that cost more to maintain than most people make in a lifetime. At the empire we've built together, legal now, mostly, cleaned by years of careful strategy and ruthless determination. At the life I never thought I'd have. And I realized something that should terrify me but doesn't. I would do it all again. Every moment of fear, every second of doubt, every risk, because it led me here. To this man who sees me as no one else ever has. To this life I've built from the ashes of the one I was meant to have. To this freedom I found in captivity. To this love I discovered in punishment. Thorn's lips brush my temple, and I close my eyes. "What are you thinking?" he asks. "That I'm glad my father was stupid enough to give me away." His laugh rumbles through his chest into mine. "Me too, Angel. Me too." And somewhere in New York, in a small apartment that reeks of failure and regret, my father sits alone with the consequences of his choices, wondering, maybe, if the daughter he threw away was worth more than he ever knew. But I don't think about him anymore. Don't waste energy on the man who taught me I was worthless. Because I learned something he'll never understand. Worth isn't given. It's recognized. And Thorn Castell recognized mine before I even knew it existed. The sun sets over Ravencross, painting the sky in shades of blood and fire. Arya runs toward us, her dark hair flying, her laugh echoing across the grounds. Thorn scoops her up, and she wraps her arms around his neck with absolute trust. The kind of trust I once thought was impossible. The kind of love I once believed I'd never deserve. But I was wrong about a lot of things. About myself. About what I could become. About what love actually looks like when it's real. And maybe that's the real story here. Not that I was given to a monster and survived, but that I was given to a man who saw past every lie I'd been told about myself, who looked at me, really looked, and saw something worth keeping, worth protecting, worth loving, even when I couldn't see it myself, especially then. Thorn's eyes meet mine over Arya's head, and in them I see everything we've built, everything we've survived, everything we'll protect until our last breath. "Come inside," he says. "Dinner's ready." Such a simple thing, such a normal thing. Dinner, family, home, things I never thought I'd have, things my father never thought I deserved. But I have them now, and I'm never letting go. We walk inside together, Thorn carrying Arya, his free hand finding mine, and I think about the girl I used to be, the one who flinched at raised hands, who apologized for taking up space, who believed every cruel word her father ever said. She's gone now, replaced by someone stronger, fiercer, more dangerous than anyone ever expected, by someone who learned that love isn't always soft. Sometimes it's sharp, possessive, obsessive. Sometimes it looks like violence directed at anyone who threatens what's yours. Sometimes it feels like being seen for the first time in your life. And that's the kind of love worth keeping, the kind worth fighting for, the kind that turns punishment into paradise. And as I cross the threshold into our home, this beautiful fortress Thorn built to keep me safe, I whisper one last truth to the universe. My father thought he was destroying me when he gave me away. Instead, he gave me everything. He just didn't know it yet. And by the time he figured it out, it was far too late. I was already Reverie Castell, wife, mother, partner, untouchable, unbreakable, his.